Hey, calm down.
We're already live.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know. You didn't tell me. Good day, loves. Welcome to the Holistic Freedom Secrets Podcast. I am Coach Tensi.
Chill out, baby.
This is our daughter, Omi. And this is...
I'm Coach Soul. What's good?
We are co-founders of Ufulu Child. Ufulu means freedom. And this podcast is all about holistic freedom. So that vision of freedom that you have in your spirit and taking steps toward holistic health, toward self-discovery, and also in alignment with truth. That is true always. So today's topic is pretty cool. Every day of the work week, we follow a 5-prong healing system called the Freedom 5. And that's Be, Cleanse, Fuel, Move, and Shine. Today is Friday, so we're on Shine Day. And we're getting into culture control, how norms shape and limit our freedom.
Yes, indeed. What it do? Instagram, what's up? Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully y'all doing good. This is a very, I wouldn't say unnoticed, but I would say many truth-seeking and holistic health, providing podcasts kind of skip over some of this information that we're going to cover in today's episode because at least, here in the West, we consider ourselves pretty free. I'm of the opinion that we are very far from free. And we can probably get into that in a different episode, but the truth is that we know and we can intuitively agree that we are not fully free. We are not as free as we can be. I mean, because fully free, you start to get into the question of, oh, well, you don't want responsibilities. No, that's not what I mean. I mean, as free as we can be, as far as not having some sort of regulatory agency examining and, sort of prying into our every move and every thought and every word, right? Censorship and the TSA at the airport and IRS, all of these things that have become norms in our culture hinder our progress towards what I like to call freedom for all. And so freedom for all is a concept that means freedom for all sentient beings. That doesn't necessarily mean veganism for all sentient beings. And there's a conversation about rights of higher intelligent beings versus rights of lower intelligent beings versus rights of even lower, beings that can't move around, like plant life, things like that. They are beings. They are individuated beings. Yet plants, animals, both experience domination from the other tiers, right? Plants are dominated by animals and plants are dominated by human beings. And if something else came from the heavens again, you know what I'm saying, and was a higher order of intelligence, there is no reason to believe that human beings, plants, and animals wouldn't be dominated by that one. But human beings are at the top of the so-called food chain here on Earth, and so that's where the buck kind of stops for now. But that said, there are a lot of cultural norms that hinder our progress toward freedom for all.
And before we get into the cultural norms, I don't know what everyone's... What's up? What's up, bro? I don't know what everyone's personal perspective is on this, or you might have different nuances of how you think about the world. And to me, that's well and good and great. And when it comes to freedom, there are some things that are important to become aligned with ourselves, with our spirits on, and with each other on, because we can't do this alone. It is a collective journey. And for a long time, I thought I could do it on my own. And maybe I wouldn't say it out loud, but I felt like at least spiritually I could do it on my own. And while we are one same spirit, with different expressions, different individuated consciousness, it is still we're it's kind of like we're a cell in the body of God, is how I've heard someone put it. And it just resonated so much because a cell can move and have its own little life inside of your body, but it also needs to work with other cells in order for the whole body to be to have health and to be free and all of that. And so we're not creating our own realities alone. We are co-creating this collective reality. And so it's important to notice how the norms that we have been that we just, like how, okay, here's an example. Um, you maybe in your family, you have uh, this particular dish that someone makes every Thanksgiving, and they've always made it that way, and they've always made it one particular way. It tastes good. It tastes about the same every year. Like in my family, it's sweet potato pie, right? And it is, you know always made with some sort of coconut milk in it, right? And it just, every time that you smell it, it just reminds you, like, yeah, this is my family's sweet potato pie. Okay, it smells so distinct, so good. Like the spices fill your nose. You smell the cinnamon, you smell the nutmeg, you smell all the goodness. And when you bite into it, it's just like, for me, it just reminds me of like something I'd love to pass on to my kids, and something that is like a signature, a stamp of my own family. And in the Black culture, sweet potato pie is also one of the staples in, especially around Thanksgiving. So it's like a cultural norm in the culture, especially around the holidays. There's always some sort of sweet potato pie that is featured on that table. Okay, among many other things that may be on that table, sweet potato pie gonna be on the table even if you're vegan. Okay, so that is just something like, have we ever questioned maybe the ingredients that we put in our sweet potato pie? Has that ever been like a question of, okay, yes, these things passed on, maybe how your family makes the meals for your holiday, that has happened a year after year, decade after decade, and everyone around you, their families also make it a similar way. Have we ever begun to question, hey, is this supporting our health, or is it taking away from our health? Hey, should we really be having the itis after every time that we have Thanksgiving meal? Like, should we really be eating late? Like, these are questions that started to come into my mind later in life. It's like, should I really be low key out of commission and make that my goal every time that we're done and we stand up or we go lay down uh, after Thanksgiving meal, right? So this is just one example of, is is this supporting us? Is this making us more free? Or is this low-key taking away from our freedom because now mama has diabetes, now everyone in the community has some sort of autoimmune condition? Not blaming sweet potato pie, because there are healthy swaps that you can't do or whatnot. But it's just the culture around it that I feel like can either put up invisible barriers to freedom, and to like truly, like, years down the line you still free with that one habit, or actual freedom out here. So
Yeah,
that's
and let's expand that out to really bring home the point that Coach Tensi is trying to make and that this episode is about. Because there are cultural norms that you grow up with in your family, but also there are cultural norms that you grow up with in the society that you're in the sophisticated, complex society of patterns that you are born into in, like, let's say your country or your neighborhood, right? And one of the, for instance, one that just comes to mind right now as I'm speaking is being indoors in air conditioning all day long, every single day, right? This is a pattern that you grow up in, so you just kind of take it as a pattern that's for granted. It's granted that all human beings do this all the time. But then when you compare the happiness and the health statistics to per capita for people that are doing that versus people that are spending a lot of time outside in the sunshine and with
or with the stars.
Yeah, both.
Mhm.
The sun is a star. But yeah, and in the sunshine and with the plant life and hunting and all of these things, and you find there's so much more, not only happy but also physically healthy. It may raise some questions about the seemingly more advanced, what's more advanced about being in these buildings with these air conditioned units, at the quote unquote perfect temperature almost all day, every day, and maybe taking 20 minutes to be outside versus living your life outside and maybe taking, just the moments where you're getting ready to go to sleep or have a private meeting or something like that indoors. That's just one example that comes to mind. I'm of course not blaming unhappiness and unhealthiness on being inside of buildings only. That would be silly. So I want to read a little bit from my book, Culture Control: Why the Love of Money is Objectively the Root of All Evil, to further our understanding and then move down in the notes that we prepared. And this is from chapter.
I see his sleepy eyes.
Hey. This is from chapter 4 and subsection.
We're
Would you
gonna
mind?
go for a walk.
Yeah.
We'll be right back, folks. I think she needs a little movement in her life.
Subsection: cultural norms. Are they protective or coercive? Firstly, Todd Rose points out that, so Todd Rose is somebody that studies collective illusions, and he started a company called Populous, I believe, and Populous does surveys and does like the research and talks to people and sends out mass emails and surveys and things and gets data on collective illusions. And just to kind of define what that is, a collective illusion is defined by Todd Rose as situations in which most people in a group go along with a view that they don't agree with because they incorrectly believe that most people agree with it. Okay, that's what a collective illusion is. You think that most people agree with this ideology, with this way of being, and so you pretend to agree with it in your actions and even in your words and in your social media posts and all of these things. But on the inside, and if you were to take a deep dive and talk to I don't know, a hypnotist, somebody that can guarantee you telling the truth, you would find that you don't really agree with it at all, right? And so you're under a collective illusion. Now, Rose points out that our brains are energy hoarders. Okay, the human brain is always looking for ways to conserve energy. And the most common yet unseen way to do that is through the use and adherence to cultural norms. These norms are how we make life more predictable for ourselves and introduce comfort and familiarity in social interactions. As arbitrary as they are, meaning as made up on a whim one day and then it just sticks as they are. Um, there we go. We usually don't choose them generation to generation. Cultural norms are adopted by the next generation, assumed to be what people actually want and actually enjoy through collective illusions. We are born into cultural norms. We grow up thinking that we grow up thinking that the norms we see reflect something true and good when the complete opposite might be true depending on the situation. We need to be cautious about adopting norms, maybe even a bit skeptical about them, because norms can exist for extremely long periods of time and go unchallenged. And of course, this is not because they reflect truth, but simply because they remain unquestioned. And psychologically, the violation of, or even sometimes the questioning of, cultural norms will trigger conformity bias, error signals in the brain. So, gathering the information and self reflection is crucial to taking a stand against bad norms of one's own cultural group. Cartoonists, memists, people that create memes on social media, comedians, and other artists often challenge every cultural norm that there is, creating permission and a frame for proper reflection, asking society, is this what you really want? Is this really you? Okay. And there are just so many cultural norms that hold us back again from freedom for all. And so, why this matters is despite the perceived freedom in modern society, norms can create culture control. And that limits our ability to grow and to evolve, as human beings and beings in general. So, first of all, one of the cultural norms that we often give into is the illusion of freedom in general. So, we have this society where you only have a certain amount of time to decide on what skills you're going to cultivate in order to use to make a living, right? To earn enough arbitrary value symbols in order to sustain your access to food, shelter, activities, and social interactions and safety. And there's this idea that when you pick the skill that you want to cultivate and you start to cultivate that skill, whether that's in administration or mechanic, building and fixing things with your hands, cultivating land, whatever it is, that you are going to be able to do that for a certain amount of hours per day and live relatively comfortably. But through the last 100 years or so, there has been a perfected method of stripping away, inch by inch, one's ability to do that. And for instance, right now, your average rent payment for the average rent payment in America across the whole country is about $2,000, where just a few years ago it was close to $900. And the wages for the jobs where you use those skills have not changed. And so now that phrase paycheck to, paycheck to paycheck is becoming and has become a cultural norm, and it strips away our freedom, right? And so this illusion of freedom, where we kind of just go along, we don't come together and strategize a way to make this change, and we another cultural norm is Another way cultural norms show up is by way of cultural beliefs that we hold, many individuals hold, and it becomes like the cultural belief. And one of those beliefs that is a cultural norm now, or a collective illusion now, is that we don't have the power to change that kind of situation. We cannot challenge the banking cartels. We cannot challenge the governmental cartel. We cannot challenge um, the structures and the entities that shape our access to, again, food, shelter, social interaction, and safety. But indeed, we have always held the power to challenge these structures and entities and challenge the matrix, if you will. We just believe that most people believe that we cannot and that we don't have any power to, and therefore our actions and our patterns of behavior reflect that of a society that is just blindly obedient to whatever system is gnawing away at and chipping away at the freedoms of the individuals in that society. And the long term effect is that our health and our sense of fulfillment are taken from us, right? And so, if we just take some time to recognize the patterns that we take for granted, right? Uh, Patterns can include inaction as well as action. So if we don't act on behalf of the changes to the cost of living and the wages that we earn and all of these things, if we don't come together and use force, righteous self defense force to make these things change, then that is a pattern, right? That establishes a pattern of inaction that just goes on and on and on and on and on. Affirm Life Daily just joined on Instagram. What's up, Cynthia? Hopefully you're doing well. We're talking about cultural norms on this episode, and Omi woke up well before the episode, so she was making a lot of noise, and that's why she's not here. But anyway, we're talking about how we we face many cultural norms, many norms that we kind of take as for granted, that strip away and gnaw away and chip away inch by inch at our freedom. One of them being the pattern of not doing anything about the constant and very rapid rise of rent, your average rent and your average home prices, not coming together as, just the basic sort of society, human family, and challenging the entities that make that possible, being the governments, the banks, whatever, whoever's writing the policy and sticking to the policy. We stay committed to the pattern of living paycheck to paycheck, right? And so uh, this has, some lasting effects, and that's what we were kind of talking about as you got here. First of all, I want to pause really quick and shout out the Affirm Life Daily podcast. I've been on there twice. My wife has been on there. Affirm Life Daily, AFFIRMLIFEDAILY. Check out Cynthia's podcast. It's really dope. And you'll learn a lot about natural law and what we need to do as a human family to challenge cultural norms if you go check it out. So yeah, that is pretty much, what I have for you today. A couple good takeaway questions and visit affirmlifedaily.com where you can find everything there. You can get a copy of my book by going through that website. You can find all of the episodes of the podcast and many, many other links, including links to, we mentioned Nature Boy and a couple cleanse and fuel episodes, his operations, which are super duper dope and getting us connected to each other in a way that we can at least challenge the food industry patterns of behavior and food industry entities that are chipping away at our freedom to access to food and access to learning opportunities to cultivate the land and grow our own food and take care of our own farm animals and whatnot, right? But a couple good reflection questions to all of you out there are: what norms do you feel you unconsciously follow? What norms are you unconsciously blindly following? Right? How might you live differently if you allowed yourself to question and maybe challenge these norms? And what small steps can you take today to align more with your authentic values, with your real values? Coach Tensi just re-entered the room, so I'm going to see if she wants to add before closing out.
What did you just talk about?
Just the main topic pretty much stayed on topic.
Okay.
I just ended with these 3 questions here.
I love a good reflection. Yes, this could be a really good journaling prompt, just to let your mind express and let your heart express on the page one time. Good day, love. Hey. Oh, that's awesome. Cynthia's watching. So, yes. I just really, at the end of the day, I would like to remind everyone and myself that it is, it's simply this. I just want to remind everyone of this, that the vision of freedom that you have in your heart is possible, and that you really can't outsource your part in it. You can't outsource your part in it. Like, you have to be the one that's willing to say no to when you notice you're like something, someone, or you are trying to give your power away to someone else. So, and you're worthy of all the things that you wish for, especially the ones that are in alignment with universal law. So that means you're not doing any harm to anybody else. Why are you wanting this? I mean, their feelings might be hurt, but when we're talking about on a universal scale, that is not a wrong, right? For someone's feelings to be hurt. The wrongs are simple, and it's like where you're not physically harming someone when you're not in an act of self-defense and you're just like initiating attack on someone.
Violence.
Physically violence, yeah. And you're not willfully lying to anybody or trying to deceptively coerce them into taking an action that would harm them, or anything like that. As long as you're not doing stuff like that or trying to like trespass on someone else's property or whatnot,
then you have a right to do what you need to do.
Absolutely. And this is it. It can be a freeing aspect to where you realize that the power is within you, and the person that truly holds the determining strings as to whether you will succeed or not, is not any sort of man or entity or anything outside of you. It's that divine essence that's flowing through all things, which is also flowing through you. And just remember that anchor as you're taking your small steps toward holistic freedom. Because you got this. We're shining out here, okay? We're sharing honest, insightful, and nourishing expressions. And I love you. Hope that you have a great day. Take good care, loves. We'll see you on Monday for B-Day, which is where we're going to be diving into the mind, the spirit, the body with a nourishing topic that's going to be a surprise because we come up with it right before the episode. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let's challenge the cultural norms, whether they are cultural norms of inaction or cultural norms of actions. Those patterns have to be questioned and challenged. Reflect on the reflection questions that we gave earlier, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Yeah. Take good care. Peace.